Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of sources, research, and expert notes and just distill the crucial takeaways, saving you hours of reading. Today, we're tackling what might be the single most important skill for any product manager or designer. It's knowing how to ask and answer user questions the right way.
Right.
Because if you've ever been on a team that spent months building something, only to launch it and find out, nobody needed it or they couldn't figure it out.
It's a painful feeling, and it happens because you are relying on guesswork. The antidote to guessing is user experience research. It's about deliberately making the user your source of truth.
And to guide us through this landscape of methods, which can feel, honestly, a bit overwhelming, we've centered this deep dive on the definitive framework from the pioneers in this space, the Nielsen-Norman Group, or NN.
Their framework gives you the mental models to choose the right research method. Because there are, 20-plus options out there? It's a lot.
Our mission today is simple, then. We want to give you that internal compass so when you have a question, you don't just, reach for a survey. You can map it to the framework and find the perfect tool.
Exactly. Ultimately, it all boils down to answering three big questions. First, should we even build this? That's your discovery research.
Okay, second.
Is this design actually usable? That's your evaluative research. And finally, once it's out there, how is it performing in the wild?
That's your summative, your measurement research. Get your question into one of those buckets and you're already halfway there. So let's jump straight into that structure because the NN framework it's just incredibly elegant. It organizes all those methods along three critical axes.
It really is. And the first axis is, I think, the most crucial one for anyone building a product. It's the difference between attitudinal and behavioral research.
The famous say versus do distinction.
Exactly. We all know there's a mismatch, but it's foundational. See, people are, they're terrible at accurately reporting their own behavior. So attitudinal research is what people say. Their opinions, their preferences, things like surveys, interviews, focus groups, it's all self-report.
Okay, so that's the say.
And behavioral research is what people do. It's observed action, usability tests, A/B tests, analytics data. You're not asking them, you're watching them.
It's like asking someone on January 1st if they're going to go to the gym 5 times a week versus, checking their gym's keycard data in March.
That is the perfect analogy. One is an intention, an attitude. The other is cold, hard behavior. And for product builders, when in doubt, you have to trust the behavior.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Say versus do. What's the second axis?
The second is qualitative versus quantitative. This is the why versus how much distinction.
So depth versus breadth.
Exactly. Qualitative is all about the why. You're looking for deep insights. The data you get back is rich. It's words, stories, patterns. And the sample size is small. You only need, say, 5 to 30 people.
I can already hear a product manager in a meeting saying, 5 people. That's just an anecdote. How do I defend that?
And that's a fair challenge.
Yeah.
But you have to explain the purpose. Qualo is diagnostic. If there's a major flaw in your design, the first 5 users will almost always find it. You use it to find out that a problem exists and why it's happening.
Okay, so it's about uncovering the problem, not measuring it.
Right. Because that's where quantitative takes over. It's all about numbers, statistics, answering how many or how much. For that, you need a huge sample size, hundreds, thousands of users, for it to be statistically significant.
So that's your A/B tests, your large-scale surveys.
Yep. They work together. Qualitative tells you what to fix. Quantitative tells you the scale of the problem, and later, if your fix actually worked.
So we have say versus do and why versus how much. What's the final axis on this map?
The final axis is the context of product use. It's basically a spectrum of how real the testing environment is.
Okay.
On one end, you have natural use. You're observing someone in their real environment, no interference. A field study in their office, or just looking at analytics data. It's messy, but it's real.
And in the middle of that spectrum?
That would be scripted use. That's where you, the researcher, define specific tasks for them to do. A standard usability test is a perfect example. You lose some naturalism, but you gain a lot of control.
And what about the other end? Limited use.
That's when you're testing just one piece of the puzzle, not the whole product. Something like card sorting, where you're only testing the information structure. It's very focused, very artificial, but super useful for specific questions.
That structural map is so helpful for just classifying the methods. Now let's make it really actionable. Let's connect these methods to the product lifecycle. Strategize, design, and then launch.
Yes, this is the key. Because if you use a launch phase method during the strategy phase, you're going to end up optimizing a product nobody actually needs.
So stage 1, strategize. This is the discovery phase. What's the biggest risk we're trying to solve here?
The risk is building the wrong thing. The goal is pure exploration, finding unmet needs, discovering opportunities you didn't even know existed.
So you need methods that are really open-ended.
Exactly. Highly qualitative and behavioral. The go-to method here has to be field studies, or its more structured cousin, contextual inquiry. You have to go into their world and just watch them work, see their frustrations, their workarounds.
And a single 1-hour visit might not be enough to see habitual behavior, right?
You're right. That's where something like a diary study comes in. You have people log their activities or feelings over days or even weeks. It's perfect for understanding these long-term behaviors you'd never see in a lab.
So at the end of stage 1, the goal is to have a validated problem that's actually worth solving.
If you don't have that, you don't move on.
Okay, stage 2, design. We've got our problem, now the risk shifts. It's about making sure our solution is actually usable.
Right, this is the evaluative stage. The workhorse here is, of course, usability testing. It's the gold standard. You put a prototype in front of someone and you just watch where they get stuck, where they get confused. It's behavioral and qualitative because you need the why.
This stage also seems to be where a lot of the information architecture work happens, like menus and navigation.
It is. You use card sorting, where you literally have users group content into piles that make sense to them. It gives you the raw material for your site structure.
But then you have to test that structure, right? You can't just assume it works.
Precisely. And that is where tree testing comes in.
Yeah.
It validates your new navigation structure as just text, no visuals, before you spend a single minute designing the UI. It's an incredibly powerful way to de-risk a confusing menu.
So the outcome of stage 2 is a design that is verifiably usable and intuitive.
It has to be.
Which brings us to stage 3. Launch and assess. Summative research. The product is live.
And now the focus shifts almost entirely to quantitative methods. This is where your analytics and clickstream data are king. You're tracking drop-offs, conversion funnels, real user journeys at massive scale.
And this is finally where A/B testing comes into its own.
This is its home. You use it to optimize flows that you already know are usable. You're tweaking things to see what version drives better conversion. You're also doing usability benchmarking, which is a bit different.
How so?
It's more formal. You use scripted tests and hard metrics like task success rate, time, errors to track your performance over time, or even against a competitor.
So the outcome here is a data-driven roadmap for what to improve next, moving from fixing huge problems to just optimizing.
Exactly.
Okay, that roadmap is crystal clear. Let's zoom in now on a few of those specific methods you mentioned from the NN framework. Starting with the generative phase, tell us more about contextual inquiry.
Contextual inquiry is just so powerful for complex B2B or enterprise tools. If you just interview, say, an accountant, they'll give you a neat, tidy summary of their job. But the reality is messy.
Right, sticky notes everywhere, multiple spreadsheets open.
All of that. Contextual inquiry uses this master-apprentice model. The user is the master of their job, and you're the apprentice learning from them. You watch them work in their environment, asking questions as they go. The insights you get are things you could never, ever uncover in a lab.
That makes so much sense. Okay, moving to the evaluative side. You mentioned the relationship between card sorting and tree testing. Why is it so important to see them as a pair?
Because they solve two different problems. Card sorting is generative. It helps you discover how users group things. You're brainstorming with them. Tree testing is evaluative. It takes the structure you designed based on that brainstorm and it validates it quantitatively.
It's just the text, right? No visual design to distract them.
Exactly. It isolates the navigation structure. If users fail the tree test, you know your fundamental hierarchy is flawed and you can fix it before you waste any time on visuals. It's a lifesaver.
Okay, and for summative research, let's go back to usability benchmarking. You said it was different from a standard usability test.
Yeah, a standard test is small. You're just looking for friction points. Benchmarking is about proof. It uses a larger sample, maybe 30 or 50 users, all doing the exact same tasks. You're tracking hard metrics, success rate, time on task.
Why? What do you do with those numbers?
You create a baseline. Then 6 months after a redesign, you run the exact same test. And you can go to your boss and say, our success rate went from 70% to 92% and time on task dropped by 45 seconds. It's the hard data that shows impact.
That's powerful. What about something really specialized like eye tracking? Where does that fit in?
Eye tracking is a very specific, very behavioral tool. It literally shows you where people are looking. It's for when you have like a really dense UI and you need to know if users are even seeing the most important button or a critical legal disclosure.
So it's for optimizing visual hierarchy.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Okay, before we get to the final decision guide, we have to talk about the big pitfall, focus groups. Why are they so often misused?
The big warning sign, yes. Look, focus groups are attitudinal and qualitative. They are fantastic for exploring brand perception or general reactions to a concept. They're a marketing tool.
But not for usability.
Absolutely not for usability. The group dynamic is toxic for that. You get groupthink, you get social desirability bias. One influential person says, I find this confusing, and the next three people just agree to be agreeable.
It distorts the data completely.
It does. You end up designing by committee. If you want to know if a design works, watch one person use it alone. Don't ask 10 people in a room to vote on it.
This framework is so powerful. Let's boil it down for the listener. To apply this, what are the 4 questions they have to ask themselves every single time?
This is the practical checklist. You start here first.
Yeah.
What is my primary question? Is it discovery, evaluation, or measurement?
Second, do I need the WHY or do I need the how, MUCH? So qualitative versus quantitative.
Third, do I care more about what they say or what they do? Attitudes versus behavior.
And finally, what stage is my project in? Idea, design, or post-launch?
Let's run a real scenario through that, the one from the sources. A product manager comes to you and says, our new sign-up flow is only converting at 12%. We need to understand why people are abandoning it.
Okay, let's use the checklist.
The question is why a solution isn't working. That's clearly evaluative.
Right.
2, we have the how much 12%. We need the WHY, so it has to be qualitative. 3, we need to see where they're struggling on the screen, their actions, so it's behavioral.
Absolutely.
And 4, the project is launched but failing. So we're in that design post-launch intervention phase.
Okay, so you feed those answers back into the map. Qualitative, behavioral, evaluative. The answer is undeniable. The best first method is usability testing. You have to watch people struggle.
And what's the common mistake people make in that exact scenario?
They jump straight to an A/B test. They start testing 2 different button colors. But if the flow is fundamentally broken, if people literally can't find the button tweaking the color is pointless, you have to diagnose the usability problem first.
That's the perfect distinction. The usability test tells you what to fix. Then, after you fix it, the A/B test can tell you how much better your fix performed.
And mastering that sequence, that's how you move beyond just having opinions and start making truly evidence-based decisions. So by understanding these 3 axes from NN attitudinal versus behavioral, qual versus quant, and the context of use and mapping that to your product lifecycle, you've moved from guesswork to strategy. The method you choose really defines the quality of your outcome.
So let me leave you with a final thought to mull over. Imagine you've run your usability tests, you've fixed the big problems on that sign-up flow, and now you have 2 really solid design options for the final button copy. Both are usable. What do you do?
That's the critical moment. The goal shifts. Your diagnostic work is done. The question is no longer, is this usable? You've settled that. The question is now, which version performs statistically better at scale? And that is the precise moment you pivot. You move from the small sample, diagnostic power of qualitative usability testing to the massive scale, measurement power of quantitative A/B testing. Mastering that transition from fixing flaws to optimizing gains, that's the mark of an expert.
Essential guidance for any team trying to build better products. We really hope this deep dive helps you make smarter choices in your next research sprint.